This is the Corners production office where all your letters arrive. Like this one here from Nicola Gilchrist, who wants to know, why is there always ticks on the letters you read out? Sophie, can you chuck us some letters? Oh, this is Sophie the secretary, not Sophie the co-presenter. Now, let's have a look what we got here. Comics and how they're made. Oh, yep, that's got a tick on it. Roses and thorns. Oh, yep, that one's ticked. And fossil... Oops, I nearly gave away the mystery corner then, but that's got a tick on it. I've got it! These are the questions to the answers that you will hear this Friday on Corners Children's BBC TV.
Thank you, Steve, and that's on Friday at 10 to 4. Part 2 of that Defenders of the Earth story, by the way, is next week at 4:15. The battle to save Valdini's continues. Simon and the Witch.
Now, why am I in here? I remember, to tell you that on Know How tomorrow at 4:35, Mark Salter goes inside the television set. But we've already done that. Ha ha! Can I come out now, please? This way?
Yeah, and I think it's... What? Then it's down through here, isn't it? And up. And there we go, into the wonders of modern television. I've even managed to change my shirt. Have a pen and paper ready for an important address after Newsround, presented this afternoon by Helen Rollison.
New ideas that should make school trips even safer. Hello again. Experts have been taking a fresh look at safety on school trips, and today a new handbook is out to help teachers and group leaders. It's called the School Travel Organisers Handbook, and it has lists of safety checks designed to help prevent disasters. Kevin Howes reports.
Since the start of the new GCSEs and standard grade exams in Scotland, there's been a big increase in the amount of practical and research work which pupils need to do. And that's meant more field trips and visits. But there's nothing new about school outings, and in the past, disaster has struck. 4 children drowned off the cliffs of Land's End 3 years ago, and earlier this year 4 boys fell to their deaths in the Austrian Alps. And just a month ago, the school holiday cruise liner Jupiter sank in Greece, killing a teacher and a pupil. Accidents like these may make teachers nervous about taking charge of trips, but today's book should help. The book's been written by a headmaster who's led many school parties himself. He says dangers should be pointed out to children and parents before they ever go on a trip. And the book doesn't mean there'll never be an accident again. The aim is to help avoid them and make sure everyone knows what to do if something does go wrong. It's got all sorts of safety tips, but there are 3 main targets for safer school trips. If it's going to be a success, really good preparation is essential. Teachers in charge of school trips must remember to act as a parent would when looking after children. And if something does go wrong, teachers must have worked out an emergency plan in advance so they know exactly what to do. Thousands of school trips take place every year without mishap, and the hope is that now they'll be even safer.
A 15-year-old schoolboy from South Wales has been found safe and sound after wandering the countryside in the freezing cold all last night. Rescue services mounted a big search for Matthew Lewis, who comes from Upper Cwmbran in Gwent, when he failed to come home after a hike. Some parts of the country are still recovering after the earliest snowfalls for years. Worst hit was Kent in the southeast, where some people woke up to find 15 centimetres of snow. It also fell heavily in Scotland, where early snows are common, and the northeast, with lowest temperatures of -5 degrees centigrade. It was a slow start this morning for many who had trouble getting to school and work. Gritting teams were out on roads and paths, and motorists have been warned to take extra care as the freeze is likely to last for days to come. Amateur weather watchers point out that birds are migrating early and say early snow often means an extra cold winter. BBC weathermen are steering clear of talk about a white Christmas, but they have warned there will be more snow tonight along the east coast. Hundreds of young musicians from every corner of Britain have been gathering in London today for the annual school proms concert. They'll be playing every kind of music, from Mozart to Michael Jackson. Here's Roger.
Over the next 3 evenings, 1,500 children will be performing here at the Royal Albert Hall. And right at this very moment, some of the youngest musicians are putting in a bit of last-minute practice. No sound quite like it has ever echoed around the Albert Hall before. They're the Baden-Powell Middle School handbell team from Poole in Dorset. Handbell ringing first started at the school 7 years ago, and now the team give a concert practically every week. But nothing to match tonight's appearance at the Albert Hall. Each bell has a number, and the musicians ring when their number appears on the music sheet. What sort of places do you play?
We've been to Beckfast Abbey, but usually we go just like to rest homes and places like that.
And what sort of response do you get from people?
They usually like us.
And what's it like playing here at the Albert Hall?
Scary, really.
Why?
It's so big and our little bells don't pick up sound very well.
Thomas, can you tell me something about the bell?
Yes, the metal here is copper and tin, and inside this is nylon with felt to soften the tone.
It's the 14th year of the school proms, and altogether 29 different groups will be performing. Bands, choirs, jazz groups, and even an orchestra of classical Chinese instruments. The youngest performers are 7, the oldest 21. The school proms have a reputation for introducing unusual sounds, and the bell ringers from Poole will be one of the highlights. It's the last time this particular group will ever perform, but the school has many other ringers waiting to take over their bells.
And now to the far eastern country of Japan, where they've been holding a massive kite flying festival. It's just as cold there at the moment as it is here, but that hasn't put off hundreds of kite enthusiasts from braving the chilly winds. The largest kite was a giant, 6 meters high and 4.5 meters wide. At one point, it looked as if its owners, who had spent 8 months working on it, might fly off too. It's a tradition they take seriously in Japan. The kites come in all shapes and sizes. More than 600 of them soared and swooped in the skies above the capital, Tokyo. Kite chains were the most popular design. Some came from other countries like Sri Lanka, China and Germany. The longest chain strung together dozens of kites, stretching as far as the eye could see. All over the country, actors and actresses are getting ready for the Christmas pantomimes. And in London, a group of children will be performing with dancers from the world-famous Royal Ballet Company in a special production of Cinderella. Today, the ballet's wig master went along to St Mary's of Angels Primary School to show some of the children how to make up an ugly sister. Terry reports.
I'm Ron Freeman, and I'm the wig master and the makeup artist at the Royal Opera House, Covent Garden.
The makeup and wig expert got to work straight away on 9-year-old Hugh Robury, who's playing one of the ugly sisters. In a ballet, none of the characters speak, but all the children will be dancing. The Royal Ballet Company first performed Cinderella almost 50 years ago. But in all that time, the makeup for the ugly sisters has remained exactly the same. One of the organisers, Caroline Clark, explained why they'd asked children to take part.
The idea is that they spend a term in their classroom working on as many different aspects of the ballet as possible. So that includes not just the music and the dancing, but also the makeup, as you've seen today, and the lighting and the design, and everything that's connected with the theatre.
By now, Hugh's classmates could hardly recognise him. Then, after more than an hour, came the finishing touch, the ugly sister's wig. And this ugly sister will definitely be going to the ball.
And finally, scientists are trying to solve the mystery of why roads seem to get damaged by cowpats. Recent research has shown that the surface of ordinary roads does not stand up to the force of the cowpat, and nobody knows why. One scientist studied 30 dollops along a country road and found that the surface of the road had broken up around the edge of the cowpats and risen by a centimetre. Now scientists are trying to find out what's in the cowpat that's more destructive than a 10-ton lorry. A moving tale, that, and I'll be back at the same time tomorrow. Until then, bye-bye.
The Really Wild Show's back with a bang, with a lively audience, and with some brilliant animals. Terry, Nick and Chris are recording a new series to answer your questions. And this is what happens when they get the answer wrong. So if there's anything you want to know about plants or animals, send your questions to The Really Wild Show in Bristol and send them in now. Great programme. Looking forward to the return of The Really Wild Show. Tomorrow at 5:10, of course, Grange Hill. And Freddie begins the campaign tomorrow of passive resistance. If you remember, on Friday, it was Children in Need, and we asked all the programmes that were on in the afternoon to pledge money to see how much money we could raise for Children in Need, the afternoons, and we will give you the results in about 25 minutes' time. After, with subtitles on CVAG's page 888, Mark, Karen, Yvette and Blue Peter.
Here's a nice little shot. I'm getting quite good at this photography business.
Greetings, you didn't know that Yvette was an ace photographer, did you? Actually, she isn't, but you can see some people who are later in the programme.
They're the ones who put film in their cameras. And today's the day I'll be making a beautiful Christmas card, which is very simple to make.
But first, it's been raining all weekend, also snowing, so why is Karen watering the garden?
Now, it might seem just a little bit silly to be watering the garden in the middle of November, but this is just part of a demonstration that we've rigged up to show you how vital part of the aid that we want to supply to Campeche really is. Imagine that this tank is a river in Campeche. Throughout the crop growing season there isn't an awful lot of rain, and rice, which is the main crop, needs lots and lots of water. Now, the problem is how to get the water from the river up to the fields on the hillside. And the way to do it is with an irrigation pump. And here to show us how it works is one of Oxfam's water engineers, Paul Sherlock. Paul, hi. Thank you for coming along. Now, what's the basic way of making all of this work?
Well, what you've got, Karen, you've got this represents the river.
Okay.
And you then have an irrigation pump. It's a very basic pump. It's a diesel engine with a small pump on the edge. It's a pump which is used all over the world in many, many countries. It runs off of diesel, as I said.
Because they can't get much
petrol
out there.
Because they can't get much petrol. So let me just demonstrate it to you. If you just go up the hill, I'll just start it up.
Yeah, it's working! How much water can this produce in a minute?
Well, this pumps at 14 litres a second.
That's quite a lot.
It's quite a lot of water. It produces, actually, that will irrigate 5 hectares, which is actually 5 football fields. So as you can see, it's quite a lot of water. We just pump a little bit more in. What you've got here is it representing one of the main channels by the side of all the fields.
I saw a lot of these when I was out there. They're all made of mud.
That's right. You just hang on a minute. I'll just turn the water off, but I think we've got enough.
That pump is so kind of clean. The ones out in Campeche had smoke belching out of them, and they were really old.
The pumps are very, very old in Campeche. So this is the main irrigation channel, as I said, behind the fields. Then off of that, you would have all the spurs. The spurs run into small rice paddies, as you would have seen when you were out visiting. And what they do then is that they take off the main channel into the paddies by their own local methods. Now, with a big official irrigation system, you have a big concrete slab and a proper, gateway. But in Campeche, they don't have that, as you can see. What we have, in fact, is basically the simple channel, which is made out of mud. And the way that they control it is that they have basically a piece of rag like that with a piece of mud inside it.
And it comes flooding down.
And there it goes flooding down.
That works very well.
Yeah, and then when you want to stop it, basically you just put the bung back in again, and it completely shuts it off. It's very, very effective.
So these pumps are really important in Campeche?
Absolutely essential. I mean, the rice is the main staple food of Campeche, and you need lots and lots of water for rice. So this is where you get your water.
Well, Paul, thank you very much for showing us how it all works.
Okay.
9 years ago, Blue Peter viewers bought 200 of those pumps, and with them, the farmers are now able to produce 3 times as much rice as before. Your help will make sure that the Campuchian farmers go on growing those crops which are so vitally needed.
And the good thing is they're now training people to fix them as well, because they didn't have any engineers before, because they were all killed. That's great. So the pumps will last for ages. Well, the rate our great bring and buy sale for Kampuchea is carrying on, there'll soon be lots of spare pump parts flying out there. The good news is that the totaliser has reached the £75,000 stage, and that's up 2 stages since last Thursday. The actual amount of money that has been raised so far is £81,090, and that's all going to provide urgently needed long-term aid for the people of Kampuchea. But please don't forget the Oxfam shops. Now, they're all running Blue Peter bring and buy sales, and they're all waiting for your stuff, but just make sure that it's in really good, clean condition. I had a great time at the Byres Road Oxfam shop in Glasgow last Saturday, and loads of people were there, and you can see my report on Thursday.
And we've news of yet more bring and buy sales happening up and down the country, which is fantastic, because the money raised at every one of your bring and buy sales will be providing more help for people who really need it. There are stacks more pins gone in the map, a few more in Scotland, including the Orkneys and the Western Isles as well. Fancy having some bring and buy sales up there, that's terrific. It's filling up nicely. We've had more than 10,000 bring and buy sales so far, as many as you possibly can.
Well, now for that ace photography Mark promised you. If you like taking photographs, you'll know it's pretty tricky taking a really good one. Just have a look at these. There are 2 of the award-winning photographs from the 1988 Wildlife Photographer of the Year competition organised by the Natural History Museum. The golden orb spider was taken by 9-year-old Louise Dean and was the winning photograph in the 10-year and under section. The kingfisher was taken by 14-year-old Charlie James and was specially commended by the judge. Now, I'm quite a keen photographer, so the other day I went down to the New Forest to join Charlie and Louise out on a field trip with the wildlife photography expert Heather Angel.
Yeah, to be in the New Forest.
It's lovely. I mean, there's so many different colours. It's my favourite time of year. It really is. I love it.
Now, you know, if you look around, if you look up and down and around, there's always something to photograph, you know, and I think possibly I want to do a wide-angle shot of the beaches, because they're all in different colours and stages. I think if we maybe just pause at a moment and look behind, we might have a look and see whether. Yes, you see. Oh yeah. You see, you've got the trunks, you've got all sorts of angles of the branches. There's a lovely shot there. I can see it. What are you going to do, Louise?
Well, I'm going to have the camera in a vertical position, because the trunks go upwards. So I thought I'd have the camera up so I'd get more of the tree.
Very good.
My camera had only one lens and could focus itself, so with nothing technical to worry about, I concentrated on my pictures.
Goodness me, Charlie, what are you up to lying on the ground here?
Well, I'm trying to photograph the roots of the tree and then leading away at the tree. Just start up there.
It's good. Can I have a look and see what you've got there? And that's rather neat, because you've got some colour coming in at the side there. Have you ever done a worm's eye view shot before?
No.
Oh, well, there you are, you see. It's worth thinking about varying the camera angle.
Everywhere we looked, the New Forest seemed full of pictures. Although it's called the New Forest, it's actually over 900 years old. It was started by William the Conqueror, who created it as a hunting preserve. Today, most of the hunting is done with a camera, and the chance of a good picture is never far away.
Here's a shot of the ivy and the leaves and the moss. That makes this nice little picture, so that even though you've got one fallen tree here, you don't think about one shot, you do your general shot.